Once upon a time there was an old instructor named Beryl, a country bumpkin in his late 40s who had been training many children to wield a sword for 20 years. While he was practicing as usual, his father Moldia told him that he wanted to have grandchildren like the rest of his friends. Beryl was furious that he would have to have this conversation again with his father. While they were talking, a group of students came to train under him, and he told Moldia that having so many students coming to the training hall was enough for him, since grandchildren are just a distant dream because he is just an ugly old man with no chance of getting a wife. Moldia suggested to him to marry one of the nice girls from his students, but he told him that the training hall is not a place for romantic relationships. Then he went inside and started training his students as he does every day. After he finished training his students, he went to lunch with his parents and found Moldia still complaining about grandchildren again. When he asked his wife Fren if she wanted to have grandchildren, she told him that Beryl would find someone sooner or later who would give them beautiful children someday. Beryl realizes she's not taking sides with any of them. Then he's surprised when one of them comes to his house and finds a silver-haired girl named Alusha. He recognizes her immediately as she was his student 10 years ago. Moldia welcomed her and expressed his admiration for her progress, as she used to write to them from time to time, and he learned from her last letters that she had become the leader of the Royal Knights, and he credited Beryl's efforts in teaching her previously. When Beryl asked her why she had come, she told him that she had recommended him to be the special instructor of the Royal Knights. The recommendation was accepted and he was appointed immediately. Beryl was surprised when she placed the appointment order with the seal of the Imperial Order in front of him. Beryl thought it was a joke at first, but his father told him that he could face the death penalty if he refused the position. Alusha told them it wasn't that serious, but he would face serious consequences and would have to stay in the capital for the night. Beryl is stunned that he has to leave tonight. She tells him that it won't interfere with his training schedule since the gym closes tomorrow, while Moldia tells him to go look for a wife in the capital, or perhaps take a shortcut and propose to Alusha. He felt embarrassed and told him to keep their age difference in mind, while Alusha blushed and didn't mind the idea inside her, and Beryl ended up leaving her company. And while they were in the carriage, he noticed that she still had the sword she got from him after graduation. When he tells her that it's just a humble sword not fit for a royal knight, she tells him that she'd rather use it than any other sword. And as time goes on, Beryl thinks he's too old to be a private trainer. Then he found Alusha telling him that she was excited by the idea of a master from the countryside working in the royal capital, especially since he had trained so many famous knights and adventurers by now. They arrived in the capital and his first thought was to buy some souvenirs for his family. Then Alusha told him to stay at the inn for the night until they met tomorrow to take him on a tour of the royal palace. Standing in front of the inn, he finds that the capital is full of people and lights, which makes him feel stressed. The next day, Alusha introduces him to the knights and is surprised that he is so strong that she can't stand up to him. When it's his turn to address his new students, he's confused and introduces himself and tells them he'll do his best to train them properly. Alusha then told him that he would have to attend night training 3 or 4 times a month, as this rate would not interfere with his work at his gym. While they were talking, he was surprised when a girl rushed towards him and soon realized that it was Kiruni, one of his students who had trained with him for 2 years and had put in a lot of effort to become a royal knight. Kiruni expressed his pleasure at being able to train her again, while Alusha told him that his students were here to support him and follow his instructions. In the evening, Beryl was honored that 2 of his students ended up working for the monarchy. When he entered the house, he was surprised to find that one of his disciples and his wife, Randrid, had recently had a baby. He was soon shocked when Moldia told him that he was not welcome in the house until he found a wife to bring him a grandchild. Then Randrid told him that he had moved to the village and would take over the management of his training hall during his absence, as he had decided to retire from adventuring in order to save his life after having a son. Beryl was surprised that he was able to make this decision, especially since he is a platinum-ranked adventurer. Then Moldia allowed him to stay the night and returned to the capital the next day. The next day, Beryl turned to Alusha to show him a good place to stay and asked her to find an inn at a good price. When she suggested he stay at her house, he felt embarrassed and refused without hesitation, considering it a joke while Alusha was serious. Then she suggested they have lunch together to make it feel like they were going on a date. As they were walking around, he heard a female voice making fun of Alusha for hanging out with such an old man and felt ashamed that he had drawn attention to her. When Alusha turned around, it was a muscular Lysandra and asked her to stop insulting her. Beryl wondered if she knew her and Alusha told him not to worry about her. As she continued on her way, Lysandra was furious that she left in the middle of the conversation. Then she approached Beryl, who was hiding his face with the map, and removed it. As soon as she saw the features of his face, she realized that he was her teacher who trained her 20 years ago, while Beryl was surprised to see the necklace she wears, which represents that she is an adventurer of the Black Order. Lysandra tries to remind him of herself and tells him that he took her in as a child and taught her how to use the sword himself. He remembers that he found her on one of his adventures and took care of her when she was helpless. Lysandra apologized that she had wanted to tell him about her successes for a long time, but never had the chance. He told her that he was happy to see her successes on the ground, and when she asked him why he was with the likes of Alucia, she felt irritated and told her that he had become the personal trainer of the Royal Knights. They started arguing about who should accompany him to find a place to stay, and Lysandra managed to find a suitable place for him. After they left in the evening, Beryl felt that he was not young enough to enjoy his sudden life change, but he was relieved to have his students around to take care of him. The next day the knights were practicing their swordsmanship when Alucia told them that Beryl would be training them from now on. One of the knights, Henblitz, approached them and objected to the idea of an old man like him training people at their level of strength. Beryl wondered who he was, and Alucia told him that he was her deputy, and when Henblitz challenged him to a duel in front of everyone to test his strength, he found no reason to refuse, and when he stood in front of him in preparation for the fight, he began to hear whispers around him. Henblitz tells him that Alucia made the decision to bring him here based on emotion, but he'll make it right. Beryl tells him he's right. He's just an old man from a remote village, but he'll do his best to lose decently. Henblitz lunges at him and attacks. Beryl defends, and it feels like a one-sided duel until Beryl accidentally strikes him with the hilt of his sword. Henblitz thought Beryl was trying to beat him with cheap tricks, so he got angry and kept attacking him until he decided to use his signature move, and was surprised to find Beryl standing behind him with the sword at his throat. Henblitz realizes his strength and admits defeat, then admires his skill in sneaking up on his opponent. Beryl soon gets along with him, and in the evening everyone goes to celebrate his appointment, and Henblitz apologizes to him for his rudeness in the morning. When asked how he was able to sneak up on him after using his special move, he told him that all he had to do was make their spins synchronize and that he wouldn't have beaten him if his fighting style had been less rigid. Meanwhile, Moldia was sitting with Randrit, who admitted that he had never met a better swordsman than Beryl in his entire journey as an adventurer. While Moldia thought that his opportunity to take on a new challenge in his swordsmanship had arrived. A week later, Beryl was still at work, training and advising the knights. After training, Henblitz was sitting with him when Kiruni walked up to him and offered to take him on a tour of the capital shortly thereafter. Beryl realized that since his appointment, he has been doing nothing but training knights and going home, so Henblitz told him that there are many tourist attractions in the capital that he should visit, and Beryl decided to accept Kiruni's offer after he felt that he was able to get along with everyone here. Meanwhile, Alucia was in a meeting with the leaders of the monarchy, and after she left, she remembered when she was young and went with her parents to Beryl's training hall to practice self-defense, and the first impression she got when she first met him was that he was a compassionate person. After that, she started practicing swinging with her classmates, and Beryl was constantly instructing her, and after a year and a half, Alucia felt the positive change in her after the hard and varied training until she became accustomed to using the sword. But what made her most happy was Beryl's compliments on her. One day, Beryl decided to train her in attack technique, and when she stood in front of him, she felt that she didn't have the opportunity to attack him. But after she made her first move, Beryl admired her intuition and that she moved at the right time instead of attacking randomly. A few months later, Alucia had a friendly duel with students from another gym and easily defeated her opponent. On the way back, it turned out that Beryl had deliberately made his students fight against knights who had a different style of fighting. She wondered if they were stronger than the rest of their classmates at the different gyms, since they were able to beat all the students and even the master, and Beryl told her that it was just that their fighting styles matched each other. Then he asked her to focus on the experience she had gained, not on winning or losing. She realized that something was missing from her things, so she quickly went back to get it. When she arrived, she found the students waiting for her, and one of them grabbed her hair tie and threw it away to make fun of her. Then they told her not to think that she won in mock fights because they wouldn't lose to a peasant like them if it was a real duel involving full contact with swords. Alucia felt that they were challenging her to another fight, but she refused. Then they decided to beat her to vent their anger towards her, but Beryl intervened and beat them easily, then returned to Alucia what she was looking for. And when the students wanted to continue attacking him, their teacher intervened and told them that they had no chance against Beryl, no matter how many they had, and admitted that his students had the advantage. Beryl told him that he understood the enthusiasm of young people in adolescence, but the teacher bowed before him and apologized for the misconduct of his students, and on their way back, Alucia felt ashamed that she had caused her teacher trouble, while Beryl apologized to her for putting her in an awkward position because he did not accompany her from the beginning. Alucia began to cry in gratitude for his kindness, and as the days went by, Alucia became stronger and stronger, finally beating Beryl during their training. Beryl felt she was strong enough to take care of herself and gave her a graduation gift of a silver sword and told her that there was nothing left to teach her, but she felt that she still had a lot to learn and would never be able to live up to his standards. Then she decided to become a royal knight to prove that her teacher's efforts were not in vain, and she succeeded in defeating her strongest opponents with ease and winning the admiration of the commanders she had defeated, and ended up joining the royal system. Alucia decided to give back to her mentor and help him live a better life and put his skills and experience to good use. So she recommended him to be appointed to the royal order as a knight trainer when she became the leader, feeling honored that her mentor was still the same as he had been 10 years ago, and that his skills had only gotten sharper and stronger. She headed to the training ground thinking that she should be the one to pave the way for Beryl to have a place of honor. Afterward, she asks Hendlitz how the training is going, and he tells her that they are reviewing what they learned from Beryl today. Then she is surprised when he tells her that he left with Kiruni, who wanted to take him on a tour around the capital, and she felt angry because she wanted to do it before her. On the other side, Beryl was wandering around and looking at all the shops and markets around him, and Kiruni told him that the western area is the best in the capital by far, and he wondered since it is supposed to be the northern area that contains the most tourist attractions in the empire. She unintentionally told him that only Hicks like to visit such places, which made him feel embarrassed that he was one of those old Hicks. On their way, he came across one of his students, who recognized him on sight, named Faisal. Beryl couldn't remember her, but when he saw the farewell sword she carried, he realized that she was one of his students, but she had changed a lot from before, as she was Kiruni's training partner 5 years ago, and he was surprised when Kiruni told him that she was now the best mage in the magic corps. When asked why she was in the neighborhood, Faisal told them that she was looking for some magical items and pointed to the ring shop. Beryl was amazed to see that she was able to use magic through rings and said that she could use magic without the need for them. Beryl realized that she had chosen to become a witch instead of a swordsman, but he still felt proud of her. While they were talking, a thief stole an old lady's purse and Faisal easily stopped him while Beryl was stunned, telling him that fighting crime is part of her job. Then she added that she uses the sword skills she learned from him by mixing it with wind magic, and he felt grateful that she still remembered what he had taught her years ago. The next morning, Beryl decided to take an early morning walk alone to memorize the paths, and not be that old man in everyone's eyes. As he was walking, he was stopped by a mysterious girl who thought she was lost, but it turned out she knew his name and told him she was Lucy, the leader of the magic corps. But she quickly became irritated when he started treating her like a little girl, and used fire magic to prove to him that she was indeed a witch. Then she decides to accompany him on his walk and tells him that she heard about him from Faisal and seemed excited to meet him after all these years. Then they end up going to an empty square, and Lucy tells him that she is used to honing her magical skills daily and immersing herself in study, and today she decided to test her strength against a strong opponent. And that is when Beryl surprises him, and he soon realizes that he has to face her in a sword fight against a witch to test his strength. When Beryl expresses his refusal to face her, she wonders if she doesn't seem like a worthy opponent. He tells her that he doesn't think he's good enough to face her, but she insists on fighting him and creates a huge flame ball and aims it at him, so he has no choice but to take a defensive stance. He continued to dodge her flame balls until she decided to use ice cubes instead. He blocked her with his sword, then thought he would have to knock her unconscious to get her to stop attacking him. So he rushed at her, and before the hilt of his sword could reach her face, she forced him to retreat. She then continued to attack him with her flame balls, forcing him to move away from her. She sarcastically asked him if he had ever faced a witch before, and he told her that this was the first time and felt that the skill combination of magic and distance was the worst he had ever experienced. Beryl noticed a loophole and decided to take advantage of it to approach her, but ultimately failed to do any damage after she stunned him. And when he thought about using his special move, he was so shocked to see her about to cast a dark spell that he felt like he was going to die. At the last moment, Lucy retreated from attacking him after being satisfied with his reaction and told him that she had put a lot of effort into perfecting. And when he asked her what would have happened to him if she had hit him with her last spell, she told him that he would have been crushed like meat, and he felt relieved that she had restrained herself just in time. Lucy admired his strength and began to understand why Faisal was so enthusiastic about him. He told her that he had been practicing martial arts for years, but he still hadn't beaten his father yet, as he still had a lot to learn. Lucy felt he was an interesting person and told him to come visit the magic corps when he had the chance. And before she left, she told him that she would test any new spells he managed to master on him. Beryl sat down to take a break after the training. Then he ran into Faisal on his way. He thought she had come on a business trip, so she told him that the magic corps was selling some magic potions to the royal system, and when she wanted to give him a bottle, he refused to take it because it was too expensive. She asks him to accept it as an apology since she knew what happened between him and Lucy earlier, and told him that she uses magic to look young, but in reality everyone doesn't know her real age. Beryl takes the bottle and admires Lucy's strength, telling her sarcastically that he'll never fight a witch again. She tells him that she's a special witch because normal witches can't cast as many spells continuously as she can. Then Alucia joined them, and Faisal decided to go where she was going. When they were alone, she told him she wanted to discuss something with him, and when he went with her, he found that Lysandra had come with her to get the royal order's approval to train new adventurers and asked him to help her. Beryl wondered what kind of training, and Lysandra told him that she wanted to test their skills in preparation for their first mission to explore a maze. Beryl Beryl remembered when he went on his first mission and was excited to explore a maze and ended up getting beaten up and going home empty-handed. Alucia saw this as an opportunity for him to gain as many students as he could, so Beryl accepted the responsibility of training adventurers. When he and Lysandra went to meet the head of the Adventurers Guild, he was surprised to find Lucy inside and found her acting as if she was at home. She told him that she had come to see him when she heard he was coming. The guildmaster then welcomed him and introduced himself as Nidus, then introduced him to his assistant Magen and told him that he would discuss the details of the mission with him. Beryl was relieved that someone agreed with him, as he wanted to get out of his current situation, while Lysandra was furious that he had underestimated her mentor. Magen said that he had received many reports of unusual monstrous activity recently, and that the guild was responsible for any decision made regarding the selection of adventurers. When Nidus asked if there were any other suggestions, he thought of Beryl fighting Lysandra to test his strength and prove he was up to the task, which left him in shock after he felt rejected. Beryl had to accept the challenge in order not to look bad in front of everyone. In the evening, everyone came and gathered around to watch the fight and marveled that she would be facing an old man almost as old as her father, while Lysandra was excited that she had the opportunity to face her teacher in a one-on-one fight. She remembered when she was young and on a business trip with her merchant parents, the carriage was attacked by a predator, and her mother threw her out of the carriage to save her life, and she ended up floating down the river after losing consciousness. After a while, she was awakened by the voice of Beryl, who found her on his way and decided to take her in and take care of her. He could only learn her name because of her panic attack whenever he asked her about her parents and what happened to them. He decided to keep her in his parents' house until he found her a new home. Lysandra was silent all the time and sat alone in the room until she woke up one day and saw Beryl practicing swordsmanship, and when he offered her to join him, she was curious to try using the sword. From then on, she practiced under his supervision until she gained strength and skill, and they noticed a positive change in her personality after she became more confident in herself, and over time she began to train with his other students, and Beryl admired her speed of movement and told her that she would become proficient in using her sword one day. After a while, Lysandra got a new family who adopted her, and she had to leave with them and say goodbye to Beryl and his family even though she wanted to stay with him forever. Years later, she became a gold-rated adventurer, and on one of her quests, one of her teammates wanted to know why she wanted to become an adventurer. She told him that she wanted to explore the world on her own. On their way, they were attacked by bandits, but she was able to take care of them on her own easily, thinking that the main reason she wanted to become an adventurer was that she didn't want anyone to suffer what she suffered as a child, and to use everything she learned from her mentor to help others. Then she came back to reality and attacked him using her super speed, and Beryl could barely keep up with her, while Lysandra felt happy that she was able to fulfill her dream and face him with her full strength. Beryl realized that she hadn't neglected her training even for a moment after her departure, which made him feel proud of her. However, he managed to find her weakness, and as she continued to attack him non-stop, he targeted her feet and managed to knock her down and subdue her in front of his blade. Nidus admired Beryl's skill after winning the fight, and Lysandra expressed her gratitude to him, telling him that he wouldn't have been able to hold on for another 10 seconds and that she hadn't mastered her left hand yet. Magen then turned to him and apologized for doubting his abilities beforehand. The guildmaster decided to assign him the task of training new adventurers. He was disappointed that he couldn't refuse the task in the end, and the next day he started training 3 adventurers, Nidri, Porta, and Sarlacats. As they headed into the labyrinth, Sarlacat sensed the presence of 6 monsters nearby with his device, and after the 3 of them successfully took over, he felt relieved that he wouldn't need to intervene during their mission. After the mission, Lysandra was surprised that the maze didn't have many monsters inside. As they approached the maze exit, they were surprised by a mysterious monster that blew Porta away with one blow. Beryl and Lysandra rushed out and immediately realized that the monster was the reason for the lack of monsters inside the maze, while Beryl prepared to face it in order to protect the others. Beryl felt unlucky to end up facing such a monster after being a bystander just moments before. When he realized that Lysandra had 2 magic potions, he thought about going to help Porta while she fought the monster, but when he told her to take over, Lysandra chose to go and help Porta on her own, leaving him no choice but to face the monster himself and save her time, and the monster didn't hesitate to attack him directly. Beryl continued to block the monster's attacks with everything he had until he had a chance to attack it, and then he was shocked to realize that his leg was hard as a rock and he couldn't cut it with his sword, and he would die if he was hit by a single blow. When he saw Lysandra carrying Porta back into the labyrinth, he decided to buy her more time, but the monster took advantage of his distraction and dealt him a devastating blow. Beryl gets a deep cut on his arm, but decides to keep fighting it. Then he thinks that maybe his face is his only weakness and decides to target it, but after the monster launches a magical attack by blowing a huge amount of flames at him, he realizes that direct confrontation won't work against him. He tried to surprise him in some way. The monster attacked him with his tail, but Beryl managed to cut it off, so the monster launched a fiery attack at him in pain and then lunged at him, goring him and running him a long distance, and Beryl could only cling to him until the monster flew him high into the sky and brought him back to where they were. The monster then used its special ability to turn the ground they were standing on into a vast lava, so Beryl quickly retreated, and the lava began to seep into the maze gradually, forcing Midri and Sarlacats to pull Porta as far away as they could. Then they were surprised when the ceiling of the maze above them turned into a ceiling of flames. On the other side, Beryl decides to act quickly before he hurts someone else, and rushes as fast as he can towards the monster and starts attacking it until the monster forces him to retreat again. But this time he chooses to jump directly towards him and manages to plunge his sword into one of its eyes. As a result, Beryl's blade shattered and he was defenseless against the still standing monster. He felt it was only a matter of time before he died, but Lysandra intervened just in time, falling right on top of him and tearing his flesh with her two swords until she took his soul. After the battle was over, she apologized to him for being late and for breaking his sword, and told him that Porta would be able to overcome his injuries, and the three adventurers emerged from the maze, and Beryl was relieved that they were okay. Nidus and Magen were shocked to see the monster's corpse in front of them, and Lysandra gave credit to her mentor. Nidus thanked him and expressed his desire to return the favor, but before suggesting that he become an official adventurer, Beryl flatly refused. After he left the guild, he was puzzled that everyone here overestimated him for some reason. He found Lysandra apologizing to him for causing trouble by praising him in front of everyone, but that doesn't mean he is too strong for her, and she told him she was lucky to fight alongside him. He expresses his gratitude to her and tells her that they were able to survive thanks to her decisions during the fight. And when she feels ashamed, he tells her that she is not a child anymore, and she remembers when they trained together as children and wishes she could go back in time. The next day, Beryl enlisted Kiruni to guide him to the smithy to repair his sword. On their way, Alusha was following them the whole time, thinking that it was okay for her, despite her busy duties as a knight commander, while Alusha was thinking that she should help Beryl in some way after the others had already beaten her to it. After they arrived at the blacksmith shop, they met the blacksmith Balder, who turned out to be a close acquaintance of Beryl as he was once one of his students and was the oldest among them, and he felt proud that he was able to fulfill his dream and build his own workshop because he wanted to discover the feeling that knights have when using a sword. When Kiruni asked him to sharpen her short sword, she was surprised when he said that she should buy a new one because it was no longer usable. Beryl wanted to know what it felt like to hold a short sword, and Kiruni told him that it felt nice and light as it was easy to hold. He then realized that the short sword was not quite right for her and told her that she would not be able to use her weapon properly if it did not feel heavy. Balder then gave her the Zweihander two-handed sword, and when she tried it on, she found that it was not as heavy as it looked. Kiruni agreed to buy it, and Beryl went off to get a new sword for himself. Beryl wandered around the workshop until he was surprised when Lysandra came in with something on her back. Balder was shocked to realize that this was the leg of the monster they had just killed, and wondered why she wanted a longsword when she already had two good swords. Alusha became jealous and suggested that she give him one of the legendary swords of the monarchy, while Lysandra begged him to accept her offer as a way to right her wrongs. Beryl was forced to accept her gift, and Balder was eager to start working on the sword and asked him to give him a week to finish it. In the evening, Beryl returned to the Royal Order's training ground and spent his time practicing with Kiruni to get her used to using her new sword. After he gave her the necessary instructions, Kiruni had difficulty using it for a while, but she soon got the hang of it, and as Beryl watched her swing the sword, he remembered her first training session in his hall when she was learning the basics of sword use. At night, Beryl spent his time getting drunk at the bar, and after he had enough, he left on his way home, thinking that the success he is achieving in the capital thanks to his dear students and not because of his hard work. And on his way he encountered a mysterious girl who tried to steal his money, but he quickly tightened his grip on her hand. The thief had no choice but to attack him with magic and cause a loud explosion in order to elude him and get away. Then she returned to her den and gave what she could steal throughout the day to her colleagues, who accused her of being lazy. The leader tells them that she can't be lazy, as what she earns from stealing is what allows her to stay here and eat. And when she sits down, she is surprised to see her jacket open and realizes that her necklace fell while she was trying to escape. And Beryl picks up the necklace and decides to keep it until further notice. The next day, Beryl goes about his business as usual and engages in a training match against Hendlitz. After defeating him, he notices his improved decision-making in combat. He looks over at Kiruni, who is training nearby, and finds that she is beginning to acclimatize to her new sword. Then he found Hendlitz informing him of the recent appearance of a group of thieves known as the Dark Twilight Hand, operating secretly in the capital, and the Royal Guard is waiting to monitor their headquarters to capture them. And Hendlitz was thinking that they will have to be very strong when the time comes to engage them. Beryl thought he'd never chased criminals before, then reached into his pocket and remembered the necklace that had fallen off the thief who'd tried to rob him. Hendlitz and Kiruni thought it was his necklace, or maybe he intended to give it to Alusha as a gift, which put him in a bind. Beryl had to tell them what happened to him yesterday, and Kiruni wondered if the thief was using magic, since those who use magic don't need to steal because they have a rare talent with a guaranteed future within the Empire. Then Hendlitz guessed that this necklace may also be stolen, and when they asked him what he intended to do, he decided to turn it in at the lost and found or return it to its original owner. So Hendlitz told him to take take it to the reception desk at the headquarters of the monarchy. After Beryl handed over the necklace, he felt relieved that he did not have to search for the thief, although he could not stop thinking about it. And when he arrived at the inn, he thought he had to look for a place to stay and started looking for a house to rent. But he was surprised by the high prices. While he was thinking about it, he found a girl looking for something around, so he went to help her, but she screamed at him. When he asked her if she was looking for a necklace, she got angry and started attacking him in front of everyone, so he asked her to stop making a fuss and realized that she was the thief who tried to rob him. He then told her that he had picked up the necklace and handed it over to the authorities. He asked her if the necklace had been stolen in the first place and she denied it. She was surprised when he decided to go with her to the headquarters to retrieve her necklace and had no choice but to go with him. Beryl wants to know her name along the way, but she refuses to talk to him. He tells her that he doesn't like her as a thief, but she continues to ignore him. After he gets the necklace, he refuses to give it to her without talking first, and that's when they run into Alucia. The thief ended up sitting with them inside the headquarters. After Beryl told Alucia everything that happened, she told them that they couldn't do anything to her unless she was caught red-handed. He told her that he had no intention of turning her in. When she asked him to give her the necklace, he asked her if she would stop stealing if he gave it back to her, and she told him that it had nothing to do with it. Alucia then asked her about her use of magic and if she had used magic on her necklace. The girl refused to tell them any details about it, so she told her that the state was willing to take care of her if she had a talent for magic. Beryl then added that they were not trying to deceive her and that she would have a promising future if she worked for the state. When asked to tell them if there was anything stopping her from stopping the theft, she had to tell them in exchange for the necklace and told them that she owed $5 million to the leader who promised to use magic to bring her sister back to life. When Alucia left the room, Beryl brought her some food and noticed that she didn't like sweets, so he gave her regular food and she started to eat it. He told her that he realized how unhappy she was when he saw her face when she tried to rob him, and that an old man like him might not be able to help her, but at least she could tell him her name. She told him her name was Mui and asked him not to treat her like a child. He returns the necklace to her and is relieved to see her smile for the first time. As she starts to leave, Alucia returns with Lucy, who offers to join the magic corps since they don't have enough mages. Mui felt mocked when Lucy introduced herself as the leader of the Legion and told her she was just a child, but she was shocked when Lucy used fire magic to reheat the drink again. And when she told her about joining the Legion again, Mui yelled at her that she didn't have time for that nonsense. When Lucy realizes what she's up to, she tells her that resurrection magic doesn't exist, so it won't matter if she raises money for her sister. But Mui can't believe her, while Beryl, infuriated by Lucy's bluntness, tells him that she would have known sooner or later. Mui refused to believe them and told them that her sister would definitely come back. Then she remembered attending her funeral with the boss, who somehow moved the corpse's hand and made her believe that he could bring her back to life fully. But to do so she would have to pay him 5 million dalks, and he promised not to let her sister's body decompose until she paid him. Lucy marveled that he was able to trick her with a pathetic ruse and that she would believe someone who would force a child like her to steal more than someone like her who spent her life studying magic. Then she wanted to know his name and told her that if he was lying, it meant that her sister's soul had been defiled and insulted and she should not forgive him. Lucy decides to confront this person directly and find out if he is truthful or false in his claims, and if he turns out to be truthful, she will pay her the 5 million from her own money. So Mui has to tell her the name she knows, Twilight. Lucy decided to head to his hideout with Beryl. In the evening, they arrived at the gang's headquarters and Mui told them to enter through the hidden door in the back. But Lucy quickly broke down the front door and then went inside and told the thieves that she had come to talk to their leader. Before she left, she told Beryl that she would let him take care of the thieves. When they saw that he carried a wooden sword, they underestimated him, but they ended up falling one by one. On the other side, Lucy found Twilight quickly, and he seemed calm as if he knew she was coming. Then he used his magic to put an ice barrier between them, and when she melted it with a flame, he used another type of magic with which he was able to control her body and lift her off the ground. And she realized that this was the spell he used to deceive Mui and delude her that he was able to raise the dead. And before he could harm her, Lucy was able to knock him down with one magic blow, and called him a child who thinks that expensive toys can outperform real magic. Meanwhile, Beryl continued to kick the thieves in front of Mui, who was amazed at how strong he was. Lucy joined him after she caught the boss and ordered him to confess to Mui that everything he said about resurrection magic wasn't true. Mui was shocked when she realized that he had deceived her and that her sister would never come back to life again. Lucy decided to go and summon the royal guard to arrest them. After she left, Beryl went with Mui to the Twilight room and found that her sister's body had disappeared from inside the coffin and realized that she would never come back to life again, and that all that was left of her was that necklace. Beryl thought he wanted the girl to have a happy life even though he hadn't hadn't known her for a long time. And when Mui thought about what would happen to her next, he told her that he would make sure everything went well for her. Mui felt angry that she and her sister had been taken advantage of by scoundrels who thought they'd be nice to her. Then she noticed that Beryl seemed more upset about it than she was and felt like a weird old man. After they caught all the thieves, Lucy thought that maybe someone was controlling Twilight and had instigated him to start a gang of thieves and go underground. She decides to take care of Mui herself for the time being. After Beryl is alone, he decides to go home. Meanwhile, a mysterious person waits for everyone to leave and then uses his magical ability to get rid of Twilight inside the carriage before being questioned. It turns out that he works for an old man who collects the bodies of the dead and works on a magical experiment known as the Miracle of God, the ability to bring the dead back to life. The next day, Alucia went to talk to Beryl and told him that Twilight had died before reaching the monarchy's headquarters and that they had found parts of a magical device in his remains, which meant that someone was secretly controlling him. After that, Beryl went to Baldur's workshop to receive his sword. It looked special and powerful, and Beryl felt that it might not be suitable for an old man like him, but he decided to go back to the training hall to test his strength, and on his way he ran into Lucy, who told him that they should talk for a while. When he asked her about Mui, she told him that she was currently encouraging her to join the Mage Corps. When he entered the house, he was surprised to find a mysterious man sitting with them, and she told him that he was the priest of the Church of Sven Ibroy. Beryl wondered why he was there, and Ibroy started talking to him, telling him that the magical tools Twilight was using were originally made in Ibroy's home country of Svendiardvania, and that they were given to him by a bishop named Revios, who instigated him to collect the corpses. Lucy then suspected that Twilight was killed by a magical remote-controlled device, while Beryl sat thinking about why the bishop wanted to collect corpses. Ibroy told him that he was trying to fulfill the miracle of God and resurrect the dead, but in his personal opinion it was just a myth, and he suspected that Revios was using the corpses to research this miracle. Beryl asked if there was anything they could do about it, and Lucy told him that the monarchy would summon Revios tomorrow as a witness, and they hoped he would comply with their request as there was nothing they could do if he chose to flee to his own country. Ibroy then added that they should make sure to catch him alive in case something happens, as he is a priest and cannot impose his authority on a bishop. Beryl realized that sooner or later he will be assigned this task and decided to set a goal to capture Revios in order to find the body of Mui's sister so that she can move on with her life. After the interview, Lucy tells him that she and Ibroy will pay him a handsome reward for the mission. As Beryl starts to leave, he runs into Mui, but she continues on without saying anything to him, and he tells her that she has changed a lot, which means that Lucy is taking good care of her. Mui wondered why everyone was so nice to her even though she was a thief, yet they gave her money and encouraged her to join the Magic Corps. Beryl realized that she was confused that everything had changed so suddenly. He approached her and told her not to think too much about such things, and that she should just relax and have fun, and promised her that none of the adults around here were going to cheat her like they had in the past. Beryl told her that she had a promising future as a witch that would be longer and brighter than his, and made an agreement with her to buy him a fancy dinner when she grew up and became a big shock, then left quietly. In the evening, Beryl went to observe Revios and found that he was preparing to escape before tomorrow. When he wanted to take a closer look, he was surprised when one of his followers appeared out of nowhere, knowing that he was the one who had defeated the Twilight followers. Beryl wondered if Revios was planning to go somewhere after being called to testify. He told him that they didn't have to comply with that request. Beryl ended up surrounded by his followers and was surprised to find them using a new and different type of magic to strengthen their bodies before they attacked him. Beryl took a defensive stance and thought of a way to beat them, as it had been a long time since he had risked his life in a sword duel, and when he took one of them down with a single blow, he realized how powerful his new sword was and then felt he was in trouble due to the growing number of them around him. Suddenly, they were attacked by Faisal, who appeared out of nowhere with Kuruni and stood by Beryl's side. They easily took down the guards and told him to keep going. Beryl went to catch Revios inside the church. Revios orders his subordinate Shuparu to take care of him and decides to show Beryl part of the miracle he's working on. Beryl ends up surrounded by the undead and is shocked to see Mui's sister among them. Ashamed, Beryl feels he has no choice but to finish her off and tear her body apart with his sword. As he starts to attack, one of the zombies grabs his foot and cuts his throat and does the same to the rest until only Mui's sister remains. Beryl hesitated to look at her so that he would not have to attack her, but after she came close enough, he grabbed her and apologized for what he would have to do. And as soon as he plunged his sword into her, her body gradually began to fade and then disappeared, leaving only her necklace. Shuparu then appeared in front of him and strengthened his body in preparation for his confrontation. Beryl kept blocking his blows and noticed that he was faster than Lysandra and stronger than Henblitz. Then Shuparu succeeded in inflicting overwhelming damage on him. Beryl realizes how strong he is and decides to keep fighting until he can catch him, and Shuparu, infuriated that he can keep up with him despite their strength difference, sticks a dagger in his arm to strengthen his body even more. Beryl ended up with several wounds from not being able to block all of his quick strikes, but vowing not to lose this fight, he gathered his strength and sealed the deal with a single blow after dodging his last attack. When he found that he was still standing, he had to tear his body even more to force him to fall, but Shuparu's body continued to resist, so that he could contribute to the miracle even at the cost of his his life, but he soon ended up falling after his body collapsed completely. After that, Beryl left the place and was surprised to find that Faisal and Kiruni had managed to capture Rivios outside. While Rivios, upon seeing him, realized that his follower had been defeated and told them that his capture would not change anything, as the country of Sven is doomed unless its church gains the power to save the world. The next day, Beryl went to meet Lucy after his successful mission, but he was disappointed that he couldn't help Mui get over her sister's death. He was surprised by the reward she decided to give him for the mission, as she decided to give him a house of his own. Then she told him that this is an old house that she had abandoned a long time ago, and when he went to take a look, he was surprised to see Mui cleaning it for him. And Lucy told him that she was finally able to make her decision to join the Magic Corps, and she will live with him as he will be her guardian from now on so that she can join the Corps. After a few days, Beryl quickly acclimated to living in his new home, although he thinks it's too much for someone like him to own a house in the capital, and he's not used to living in one place with another person, especially if she's a child. After that, he made breakfast and sat down to eat it with Mui. When he wanted to know her tastes and preferences, she told him that she was ready to eat anything edible. He noticed that she was deliberately putting distance between them for some reason, and when she asked him to let her use the toilet, he told her to stop being so formal, as this is her home as well as his. After that, they went out shopping together, and Beryl took the trouble to approach her and lighten the mood the whole time. He felt that he was making progress when Mui responded to him, so he decided to take her to see a play, which was a wish of his since he spent his life in the countryside. After the play was over in the evening, Beryl went out and enjoyed himself, while Mui felt irritated by the protagonist because he was annoying and selfish, and Beryl thought that if he kept sharing things with her, it would give them something to talk about together. The next day, Beryl accompanied her to the headquarters of the Institute of Magical Education, and was surprised when they arrived that it resembled a huge palace. He contemplated everything around him on the way in, and then they came across the teacher Kenra, who offered to guide them where they wanted to go. Beryl told her that the leader of the Magic Corps had recommended it to them and wondered if Mui would be able to fit in with everyone at the institute, and she told him that Lucy was the director of the institute. She then told him that Lucy's recommendation would exempt Mui from having to take an entrance exam, and asked her what specialty she would like to pursue since every magician has their own strengths and weaknesses, and Mui hesitated before telling her that she only knows how to use fire magic. Kenra decided to let her enroll in the offensive magic department because it was the most suitable for her. She then took them on a tour of the dormitory, and they were amazed to see how much space she could live in and how many features it had. After they left the institute, Beryl decided to go for lunch somewhere before going home. He kept thinking that Mui would be able to adjust to living with other children and thought that she might be cautious with old people like him, but would be more open with people her own age. They arrived at a popular hot dog restaurant and found it crowded, but luckily Beryl ran into his student Lysandra inside, who invited him to share her table and was curious to know more about Mui. Beryl was confused and didn't know where to start. She was shocked when he told her that he was Mui's guardian and that they were currently living together in his house, but at the same time she realized that she had no right to interfere in the matter. The three of them sat down to lunch together, and when he asked her how things were going, she told him that she was doing a lot of monster hunting near the capital, as the news of a delegation from the kingdom of Sven had contributed to the recent increase in the number of monsters around. Beryl didn't know about the visit of a delegation from Sven, so she told him that it was an annual meeting between the allies, so the adventurers are tasked with searching for and eliminating monsters to ensure the safety of the arrivals. After they left the restaurant, he asked Mui to go home while he was going to visit the system headquarters, and asked Lysandra to encourage her with some phrases since she would be entering the Magic Institute soon. She told her in a sharp manner that she would compete with the best magicians in the institute, so she had no choice but to win, especially since Beryl is her guardian. And Beryl felt that she overestimated him and told her that he is just an old man who does not recognize anything. After Mui left, Lysandra told him that she had the qualifications to become a witch, and even though she was badly behaved, she didn't pretend or hide anything, and Beryl thought that this was the main reason she needed a proper environment to grow up in. He then went to the Royal Order headquarters and asked Delucia if he should let Mui stay with him or let her go to live in the dormitory. Kiruni intervened and told him that the dormitory was the best option because it had all the services and she wouldn't have to move around so much. Beryl felt that she was right, but he was worried that she wouldn't get along with her classmates, so Hendlitz joined them and told him that the best thing for her was to get out of her comfort zone and have a new, direct experience, and Delucia agreed. In the evening, Beryl went to ask Lucy about the same thing, and she also told him that the dormitory was the best option for Mui and wondered that he had traveled all this way just for this question. When Faisal joined them, I asked her about the dormitory and she said that it was very comfortable. Upon learning of Mui's enrollment, Lucy asks Faisal to let her supervise her magical education. Beryl is surprised to learn that Faisal is a teacher, and Lucy tells him that she hired her because of the shortage of talented teachers. Beryl felt proud of his student and then decided to leave. He was alone with his thoughts, thinking that being Mui's guardian would make him her father, and he realized why he felt happy with her and sad that she was going to live far away from him. When he returned home, Mui told him that there was a strange noise coming from the drawers, so Beryl carried her away, and was shocked to see a small hole at the bottom of the wall with an army of rats coming out of it. He opened opened all the doors and windows and prepared for a battle to drive the rats out of the house with a broom. Then he started chasing them and beating them until they left, while Mui didn't care about it as she was used to seeing rats a lot in the past. Beryl succeeded in expelling one rat while 2 rats hid under the table, even though they could have gotten out and run away. So he decided to catch them and throw them out of the house, and the chase continued until he succeeded in catching one and throwing him out, leaving only 1 rat left. Beryl headed towards it and focused on it, but he had a hard time catching it because he didn't know how to disassemble the rats. The rat kept dodging him with agility and speed until Mui used her fire magic to disrupt the rat's movement, and Beryl succeeded in catching it. After kicking the last rat out of the house, he put a rat repellent ball he got from a neighboring bar owner, put the drawers back, and went to make dinner, thinking that if she could cooperate with the others like she did with him, he wouldn't have to worry about her staying in the dorms. He felt sad that she was going to move to another place after they were finally getting along, and when they sat down to eat dinner together, she told him that she wanted to improve her cooking skills from now on. Beryl was surprised and told her that she wouldn't need to cook in the dormitory since there are people who provide meals for the students. She told him that she decided to stay here after enrolling in the institute, and when he asked her why, she told him that she wanted to help around the house since he takes care of feeding her, and that even someone like her could be of help to him. Beryl was surprised by her thought process and was happy that she wanted to stay with him and promised that they would prepare food together every day from now on.
A few days later, Alusha went to see Beryl and told him that she wanted to talk to him about something important that would affect his future, which made him feel a little confused, and when the others noticed it, Alusha looked like she was going to say something important, but in the end she told him that they should go and buy him new clothes. Then she added that a delegation from Sven was coming to visit their country soon, and he realized that this was due to the increase in monster hunting requests recently, according to Lysandra, and she felt angry that she couldn't tell him about it beforehand. Beryl thought that Raviels would attend the meeting as the bishop, but Hendblitz told him that these matters are handled by the parliament, headed by the royal family. Then Alusha told him that she would like to arrange a meeting with the royal families of both countries and use his help in securing VIPs, and the rest of them saw it as a good opportunity to spread his name in and out of the country. Beryl felt that what they were doing for him was too much, so Alusha told him that she knew he didn't like being the center of attention, but that his position as trainer of the knights made it necessary, and he couldn't refuse now that he had the royal family's approval. She then returned to the main topic and told him that since he was going to meet the royal family, he needed to buy the right clothes. He thought that he couldn't wear his normal clothes, and he didn't have a ceremonial uniform or armor because he wasn't a member of the royal system. He told Alusha that he would get new clothes when he was free, but Alusha insisted on accompanying him to shop on the pretext that he was not well acquainted with the stores in the capital, and he felt embarrassed that she was taking the trouble to take care of an old man like him in this way. In the evening, Beryl returned home and was surprised that someone had sent him clothes as a gift with a thank you note. He guessed that one of his friends had sent him the clothes and told Miwi to choose whatever she wanted. When they sat down to dinner, he told her that he needed to buy new clothes for the mission he had been assigned, and that he would go shopping with Alusha tomorrow. When he invited her to accompany them, she refused, so he told her that Alusha is kind to children despite her serious appearance, but she insisted on not going, which made him wonder about her discomfort, and he felt that it is difficult for an old man like him to understand what a girl her age is thinking. The next day, Beryl was surprised to see Alusha wearing ordinary clothes, unlike her uniform, and he admired her appearance, which made her feel embarrassed, and then they went together to inspect the clothing stores while Karuni and Hendblitz were watching them closely. Beryl felt uncomfortable and preferred to stay outside, but she pulled him inside, and he kept looking at everything around him and found that the store contained many different types of clothes, which made it difficult for him to choose, as he does not trust his own taste, as he is used to his worn-out and worthless uniforms. He decides to let Alusha choose the right clothes for him from her point of view, and is soon surprised when she chooses a double-breasted jacket with some embellishments, and when the shopkeeper agrees that it suits him, he realizes that he is just playing along to make sure they buy the item. When he imagined what he would look like in the jacket, he felt like a ridiculous clown and regretted letting Alusha pick out his clothes. Then he thought about checking out the other clothes and deciding for himself so he wouldn't end up overdressed. While Alusha felt dissatisfied and asked the shopkeeper to keep the outfit she had already chosen for him, he couldn't help but wear what she had chosen for him so that he wouldn't look like he was ignoring what she was doing for him. Beryl suggested that they go to lunch together. They ended up going to a fancy restaurant in the central district, and he told her that he had never been to a place like this before. When he started eating, Alusha felt triumphant that she had finally managed to go on a date with him in a perfect way. On the other hand, Karuni and Hendblitz found that she was enjoying her time with him as if she was on a real date. When Hendblitz asked if their current situation together made them a date, Karuni blushed and denied it. In the evening, Beryl decided to buy the suit of his choice in the first store after they finished shopping in all the stores. On the way home, Alucia remembered the day he had saved her from her fellow bullies and that he had told her that they would eat some food on their way in the carriage, but they didn't end up eating anything, and she felt happy that they were able to make up for it years later. After he left, Hendblitz decided to reveal himself and went to tell her that he had been spying on her all this time. She didn't react and told him that everything he had seen was nothing to be embarrassed about, which made Hendblitz have the confidence to ask her directly what Beryl was to her, and she told him that she just wanted to make him happy. The next day, Kuruni went to apologize apologized to Hendlitz as she felt confused when he decided to speak directly to Alusha and couldn't help but run away, so he told her that he didn't tell her that she was with him. After that, they saw Alusha on her way out, so Karuni got nervous and decided to go under the pretext of practicing waving, and after she went, she surprised Hendlitz after telling him that she intended to challenge Beryl in today's fight with the aim of establishing that his strength is not to be underestimated before he meets the royal family. Hendlitz thought that standing up to her while she gave it her all would prove to everyone that he was more than qualified to be her personal trainer, win or lose, and he was curious if that was the only reason she wanted to face him. She told him that she might be able to share one of her desires if she could beat him, then went to get ready for the fight. After she left, Karuni came back and told her what she was going to do today, and she was shocked that she was planning to confess her love to him if she won. Beryl came out of the training hall and was surprised to find Alusha standing outside. She told him that she intended to duel him in order to practice using her sword before the delegation arrives. Beryl remembered that it had been years since he had last fought against her and felt that he had no chance of beating her if she fought with everything she had, and as soon as the fight began, she used her lightning speed to attack him. Beryl miraculously managed to block her, and she told him that this blow could decide the outcome of the match against other opponents, so he tried to play tough and told her that she wouldn't get the training she wanted if the fight ended now. Alucia continued to attack him when he took a defensive position and was surprised that he was able to block her 3 times in a row, while Beryl had a hard time anticipating the timing of her attack due to her speed beyond logic and realized that she deserved her position as the leader of the Knights. Then he decided to start attacking her before he collapsed in front of her blows. He continued to throw close strikes at her, and she in turn threw some blows at him until she managed to hit his leg, so he thought there was no way for him to lose, even though she was almost stronger than he was. When Alusha continued to throw quick strikes at him, he decided to take a step back. She told him that she was thrilled to have the opportunity to show off the skills she had acquired since she left him. As she continued to attack him, he noticed that she used her knees so well for acceleration that he couldn't predict her movements. He continued to block her until she found a gap in his body and decided to take advantage of the opportunity and deliver a knockout blow, but she ended up on the ground after Beryl pulled her down by her robe. Alusha admitted to losing to him, as duels don't have rules about not doing a move like that, and he told her that as good as she was at fighting, she wouldn't always meet opponents who fought with integrity. After he left, Hendlitz and Karuni joined her, and when she asked what she was going to do if she won, she told them she was going to make him buy her new clothes since he had bought himself some yesterday. Karuni felt misunderstood and apologized for asking her such a strange question, then decided to withdraw. When Hendlitz asked her honestly if she would confess her love for him if she won, she told him that she wanted Beryl to be happy and it would be great to be the one to make him happy. In the evening, Beryl had dinner with Mui and told her what happened today and that he felt very relieved to win and proud to see his students become strong and young. Mui guessed that Alusha only wanted to draw his attention to her. When she thought that Alusha might like him since she was the one who invited him to go shopping for clothes, he gave her a silent nod and laughed at her naive thinking about him and told her that the age difference between them is huge. In addition to her being his student, she felt angry and told him that he was focusing on trivial things, while Beryl decided that an old man like him doesn't care about romantic relationships. A few days later, Beryl is having dinner with Mui and is impressed when he sees her uniform. She tells him that she borrowed some textbooks on the basics, and Beryl is excited to see her begin her journey as a student at the Institute of Magic. Then he noticed that she was packing her things in a rudimentary bag unworthy of a student at the Institute of Magic, so he decided to buy her a school bag before her first day of school, and when he went to the bag store, he remembered that he had never bought a school bag before and decided to ask the shopkeeper for help. The shopkeeper recommended some bags to him and found them suitable but expensive for a school bag due to their high quality. The shopkeeper recommended some cheap bags to him but found that they looked less than average. He ended up leaving the store without buying anything and sat thinking about whether to buy a good but expensive bag or a low-quality economical bag in order to save some money for Miui's studies. On his way home, he came across Lysandra, and when he noticed that she was distracted, she told him that she had been given a difficult task by Nidus and hesitated a little before asking for his help, but he didn't think he would be useful in a difficult task for a powerful adventurer like her, but he was curious to know the details. Lysandra then told him that the mission was to capture a live horse from a long line of horses to present to the royal family and Sven, and she had permission from the royal system to use his help when needed. Beryl decided to help her in exchange for a handsome reward of money to cover his recent expenses. When they arrived in the forest, her followers had set up a barrier around the area where the horse was supposed to be. She gave Beryl some tools to prepare for the mission, and then they started to go deeper into the forest in search of the horse. When he asked about the horse's characteristics, she told him that it was a rare horse with pure white hair and that the horse managed to evade a band of platinum-rated adventurers, which is why the royal system entrusted her with the mission. After they arrived, they began to check the traps set by Lysandra's followers, and she expressed her confidence that she would succeed 1000% because of Beryl's presence, and he felt overwhelmed and wished he could offer even a small amount of help. They came to a small lake and Beryl noticed hoofprints on the ground and realized he was close to them. Lysandra thought about setting traps around the area, but he told her that the horse was smart enough to avoid all the traps set for him. So they decided to wait and watch him from a distance, and then made a plan to catch him. After some time, the white horse appeared and went to the lake to drink. Beryl watches him until the right moment to catch him. He finds his pure white appearance stunning and worthy of the royal family's attention. Then he sees Lysandra sneak up behind him and shoot a cloth-covered arrow at him. The horse panicked and ran towards Beryl, who was ready to catch him with a large fishing net, but was surprised to see the horse jump high above him and run away, so Lysandra told him to follow him. Beryl fails to put the net on him again and soon ends up clinging to the horse's neck as he continues to run, but he knocks him down, angering Lysandra, who tries to tie him up with a rope, but to no avail. They continue to chase the clever horse until they find him choosing to jump to a high rock far away from them, making him harder to catch, but Beryl realizes that the rock is about to collapse, so he jumps onto the horse to try to save him, and they end up falling together. After a while, Beryl was alone with the raging horse, so he tried to calm him down and tell him that there was nothing he could do for now. Then he sat and thought about how he and the horse would get back up again. Then he noticed that the horse was afraid to jump across the river and told him that they would starve to death if they stayed here. Then he used his sword and cut down a tree to use as a bridge to cross to the other side. As they started to move, Beryl almost slipped, but was surprised when the horse caught him before he fell. After they made it back to the forest, he found Lysandra rushing towards him after she found a path from the riverbed that led to them, and was relieved to find that he was fine and had managed to tame the horse as well. In the evening, Nidus expressed his gratitude to them after they had successfully carried out the mission and brought him the horse, and told Beryl that he had saved the guild's reputation in the eyes of the monarchy, and after he left, Lysandra gave him his reward. As he was about to leave, he was surprised to hear her mention Miwi and feel jealous of the idea of living with him, but she changed her mind and decided to encourage her because she is an honest and considerate girl and expected Beryl to find something interesting when he returned home today. After that, Beryl went to the luggage store and bought the bag he had admired in the morning. When he returned home, he was surprised not to find Miwi waiting for him and thought she might have gone shopping, but she soon returned home and was surprised when she saw the bag and that he had bought it especially for her. When she put it behind her back, Beryl admired it and told her it was perfect for her. He then asked what she had bought, and she told him that she had bought a ceramic mug for him and had worked today to save up the money to buy it. Beryl realized what Lysandra meant and found Miwi telling him that she had hired her to find her a suitable temporary job. He asked her why she wanted to buy the mug, and she told him that she noticed that his wooden mug was cracked and unusable. When Beryl tried drinking with it, he found that it tasted better than the previous cup, and she told him that she wanted to give him a reward of a better tasting drink since he was working hard at housework and she wouldn't be around all the time after she enrolled in the Magic Institute. Beryl felt so grateful for her that he cried and expressed his gratitude to her. The next day, he decided to accompany her to the institute on the first day of school, and even though she didn't want him to come, he told her he wanted to say goodbye on his way to work. Afterward, Miwi took a carriage and went alone to the institute while Beryl just waved to her and went to work. While supervising the training of the knights, Karuni noticed that he seemed to be in a good mood today. Then Alusha joined them and told him that Sven's delegation had arrived at the monarchy's headquarters and invited him to join her and Henblitz to welcome their counterparts. He began to think about how they had handled things with Revios and guessed that they might have something up their sleeves. He agrees to join them and meet the delegation. When he accompanies Alusha to the headquarters, he is surprised to find that his former student Rose is now the deputy knight commander of the Sven Empire, while Alusha is furious at the thought of adding another rival for her mentor's heart. Beryl remembers that Rose was his student a few years ago, trained under him for a year and a half, and was beloved by all her classmates. He finds her approaching him with gratitude for all he has done for her, while Alusha is so jealous that she is about to explode with jealousy. Beryl expressed his admiration for the amazing level Rose had reached after becoming the deputy knight commander of the Seven Empire, and when Alusha wondered what happened to the former deputy, Gatoga told her it was a long story, but refused to divulge it, only telling them that he and Rose would be staying for a few days to take a tour of the entire kingdom. Alucia decides to hire a knight to guide them on their tour, and Rose thinks it would be great if Beryl could show her around the city, but he gets confused and can only smile to avoid Alucia's deadly gaze. The next day, Beryl finished his work, and as he left the Royal Order headquarters, he was surprised to find Rose waiting for him outside. She told him that she had come to see him and talk to him for a while, and asked him to take her for a walk while they chatted. On their way, Beryl asks her about joining Sven's order, and she tells him that it happened after she left his training hall, where they convinced her upon her return to the Empire that it was time for her to use her sword in the service of the country, and everything happened suddenly. He realized that Gatoga was the one who told her. He told her that he understood how she felt as his life had changed overnight as well. He wondered that she had been promoted to such a big position in such a short time. She told him that they just wanted to fill the position. As she was walking, she spotted 3 children playing nearby and wandered for a while before continuing on her way. Beryl told her not to forget her role as deputy commander of the Knights of Sven, and she smiled a little and asked him to let her live with him if she moved to the kingdom. Beryl thought that she has a strange trait where everyone is somehow attracted to her, especially children, which makes her the perfect person to get along well with Miwi. After their tour, Beryl went in the evening to pick up his suit and decided to wear it on his way home. When he returned, Miwi was surprised by his appearance, but she kept silent. He was confused that the suit might not suit him from her point of view, especially after he spent a lot of money to buy it, so she told him that it just looks good. Beryl was happy that Miui's food tasted good and that she was becoming a good cook. When he asked her about the institute, she told him that she was tired of going there and he wondered if there was something wrong. She told him that her classmates were forcing her to go with them every day, and every day they went to do a different activity while she preferred to stay alone. She then added that she found thousands of magical books in the institute's library and felt exhausted after realizing that she would have to read so many books during her studies. While she was talking, Beryl felt happy that she could talk to him for a long time and tell him about her day. Then Miui asked him if he had ever read books before, and he realized that she wanted him to teach her the difficult terms that she couldn't pronounce and didn't know what they meant, and told her that they would start studying books at home in her free time. The next day, Alucia appointed a cavalry battalion to guard Sven's delegation during their stay in the kingdom and divided them into squads, and Beryl ended up in one squad with her and Henblitz to guard the third princess. After that, they went to introduce themselves to Princess Salacia and vowed to devote their lives to protecting her. Salacia recognized Beryl as soon as she saw him, as she had heard a lot about him from Alucia before, and then Prince Glenn joined them to spend time with Salacia. As they flirted in front of everyone, Beryl caught sight of Rose waving at him from afar and tried to focus on his task as a bodyguard. When the two princes went for a ride, Beryl ended up being used as bait after he got into the carriage directly in front of them, with Alucia and Henblitz walking next to his carriage for camouflage. On their way, they stopped by a store after a hair ornament caught Salacia and Glenn's attention, and while they were shopping in the store, Beryl and the others were surprised to see a large number of people gathered near the store to see the prince and princess. As Glenn and Salacia exited the store to head for their carriage, Gatoga approached Glenn and whispered to him not to repeat his spontaneous behavior again, while Beryl noticed some suspicious movement in the crowd, but thought he was delusional. Beryl decided to tell Alucia what he had noticed outside, and Henblitz decided to reorganize the guard teams and increase their numbers, just in case. Then Glenn and Salacia came out of the palace to greet the crowd, and suddenly 3 masked men appeared out of nowhere and rushed towards them, so the knights prepared to confront them, and when Beryl approached one of them, he found him easily surprised, and Beryl wondered that he did not sense any evil intent from him. The guards took Glenn and Salacia inside the palace, and Beryl and his companions ended up confronting the group of masked men. One of them tried to surprise him, but he managed to fight him off and noticed that the blades of their daggers contained poison. The others decided to capture them alive as much as possible to find out who is behind this attack. Then Beryl noticed that they use all methods of attack and do not rely only on weapons, so he decided to fight as he wishes and succeeded in delivering a painful elbow blow to the criminal. Then he rushed towards him and forced him to drop his weapon. Then he finished him with a single wave that forced him to fall to the ground. Henblitz, on the other hand, was still fighting his opponent and focused on sensing his movements due to the thick smoke, and was able to predict his next move and hit him with a thunderous blow. Then Alucia succeeded in catching her opponent after several quick blows that he could not dodge. After everyone succeeded in capturing the mercenaries, Gatoga failed to take care of his opponent, who took the opportunity and fled, and after the situation calmed down, he saw Rose sticking her sword in the middle of her opponent's head to take his life and realized that her fighting style had completely changed. And when they started interrogating the prisoners, they were surprised to find them suffering from severe bleeding before they died all at once, as if someone was controlling them and disposing of them before they discovered him. After the battle is over, Alucia decides to return the prince and princess to the palace by a shortcut, leaving Henblitz to take care of things around the palace, and Beryl goes with her. She told him that her miscalculation made it impossible for her to hold anyone accountable and that she could only look for those who had escaped before they were caught. Beryl realized that tomorrow's tour for Glenn and Salacia would be cancelled. Alucia decided to increase the number of guards around the palace for a while and asked him to leave before her, as she was about to meet with high-ranking officials later. After Gatoga told Rose to follow him to the inn, she felt relieved that she was free for the rest of the day, and Beryl realized that she would ask him to take her for a tour, but contrary to his expectation, he found that she left quietly, so he decided to go home as well. When he returned, he was surprised to find Lucy, who had come to visit him after the news about what happened today. Beryl remembered that the Magic Corps was not part of the guard and told him that the Corps had to stay out of sight this time. While they were talking, Miui decided to leave them alone and go buy some things for dinner, and Lucy quickly realized it. Then she added that the Legion wasn't part of the State Guard and guessed that the Sven Empire was behind today's attack. On the other side, Alucia was surprised to see that Rose was still here, and Rose told her she was looking for the commander. Rose wondered if the prince and princess would be wandering around the farmland if things went according to plan. This question raised suspicion within Alucia, but Rose justified that the reason for her question was that she did not know much about the geography of their country and asked her to tell her more about the agricultural area for security reasons, but Alucia told her that it was better to ask her commander. Rose thought that waiting for her commander was a waste of time and that she would rather talk to her since she knows more about everything, and offered to go to a cafe near the palace to talk comfortably. Beryl wondered why Lucy suspected the attack was coming from the Sven Empire, and she told him that she had gotten some information from Ebroy that Sven was currently experiencing an ever-increasing power struggle. Beryl felt nervous because he has little knowledge about politics and religion and asked her to explain it to him. She told him that the Pope has the most power in the empire, while the king has more political power than him, but he cannot ignore the Pope's opinions because the empire is a religious state. Beryl thought that even if they had succeeded in assassinating Glenn, he would have been succeeded by another prince and the situation would have remained the same. Lucy told him that in this case the next prince would be Valkus, a devout follower of the church. Meanwhile, Alucia finished explaining the geographical features of the farming area to Rose, who decided to share the information she had obtained with the other knights later. Just as Alucia was about to leave, Rose told her that she wanted to talk to her about Beryl and her time spent in his training hall as his apprentice. Alucia saw no reason to refuse, although she felt irritated and sat down to listen to Rose's gossip. Rose said that her first meeting with Beryl was 6 years ago and that his hair was graying by then asked her to tell her about her time as his student. Alucia told her that it was a very long time ago and Rose was curious to know what he looked like when he was younger. She told her that she was just a child and didn't know how good he was, and she thought he was only praising her talent to keep her motivated to train, and she continued to train with him until she was able to master his fencing skill, and then he told her that it was time for her to graduate, and she remembered that she cried a lot that day. Rose realized that she loved Beryl and that he hadn't changed since then. As they talked, she noticed a lost boy near them turning around looking for his family, so they went to check on him, and when he told them he couldn't find his mother, Alucia decided to take him to the guard room. Rose thought that it hadn't been long since they were separated based on his appearance, so she decided to help him look for her. When she asked him his name, he told her it was Ryder, and then she asked him to tell her the description of the clothes his mother was wearing. He told her that she was wearing thin red clothes and had long hair. Rose then started calling out Ryder's name loudly in the hope that his mother would be nearby and asked Alucia to do the same, and she felt embarrassed but had no other choice, so she kept calling too. Beryl, on the other hand, found it logical that the attack was orchestrated, especially since the criminals died after being caught, as if they had committed suicide, and then remembered when Spur sacrificed himself to fulfill his master's goal. Beryl thought that this won't be the end. They will try to get Glenn at any cost, and the only way to ensure his safety is to cancel tomorrow's tour, but Lucy told him that it's not that simple. While they were talking, Miwi returned from outside and Lucy decided to leave. Beryl had nothing to do for the rest of the day and suggested to Miwi that they make dinner together. In the evening, Alucia and Rose succeeded in returning Ryder to his mother. Alucia noticed that Rose had a special love for children. Rose told Alucia that she used to have regular contact with them thanks to her father's donation to orphanages. Alucia wondered if the orphans in Sven were as well treated as they were rumored to be. At the end of the day, Alucia decides to return to the headquarters after trusting Rose, and the next day she announces that Glenn and Salacia's tour will go according to plan. Beryl was surprised that the tour would not be cancelled as he expected, while Alucia ordered her followers to be more vigilant in their work, and after she finished her speech, she went to Beryl and noticed that he had many questions and told him that this was Glenn's wish. Beryl marveled at Glenn's ability to hold his ground and pretend to be strong when his life was on the line, and realized how difficult life is for royalty. Beryl then started walking next to the carriage with Alucia and Karuni, who was excited that the three of them were on the same team today, while Alucia vowed that she would protect the royals this time no matter what. Along the way, Beryl found Commander Gatoga stopping him to tell him privately that he had discovered the identity of one of the perpetrators of yesterday's attack, who turned out to be one of their former comrades, the former deputy commander before Rose took office, and vowed to take him out himself if he reappeared. Beryl wondered if Alucia was aware of this, and he told him that he had told her yesterday, so he had no choice but to rely on him to take care of it, and he continued his way to the carriage while Glenn and Salacia were enjoying their time together, admiring the scenery around them in the agricultural area. Karuni, on the other hand, was disappointed to see the clouds, and suddenly Alucia ordered the caravan to stop after Glenn decided to get out of the wagon with Salacia to inspect the crops up close and told Gatoga that he was counting on him to take care of Salacia's protection. Beryl and the others accompanied them and found that the visibility is good for them in the area, and the situation seems stable after the increase in the number of guards. While Glenn and Salacia were inspecting the crops, they were surprised by an arrow that settled near them after the archer missed his aim. Beryl and his companions kept fending them off, trying to keep the prince and princess safe at all costs. Meanwhile, Beryl noticed some mercenaries sneaking up on them. He focused his attention on them and fought directly with them and succeeded in taking them down with his skills, and then Hendlitz joined him to support him, and the battle continued like this until Beryl started using the mercenaries as shields to avoid the archer's arrows and soon realized that they didn't care if their colleagues died and continued to move forward. Over time, he realized that there were too many of them and the fight would never end at this rate, and the outer perimeter guards were already dead. Meanwhile, one of them managed to dodge Karuni and rush straight at the prince and princess, but Hendlitz managed to finish him off before he could reach them. Beryl then asked Alucia to take Glenn and Salacia to the carriage to make it easier for them to protect them, while he will take care of the rest here. Then he decided to go deep into the fields himself to catch the gang, and then he was surprised by Rose appearing out of nowhere and admiring his strength, and he realized that she was complicit in the attempt to assassinate the prince and the princess and was waiting for him to come, so he decided to settle the matter with her in their own way. Beryl wonders if Rose has eliminated her allies, but but she tells him that she only knocked them unconscious. When she realizes that he has been on to her for a while, she wonders how long he has been watching her, and he tells her that he began to doubt her when he saw her kill one of the gang members that day when she could have spared his life and captured him alive. Then he added that his suspicions were confirmed when he noticed that the number of mercenaries was increasing while she was nowhere to be found, and it occurred to him to ask her why she contributed to the assassination of Glenn and Silesia, and she responded with another question: what will he do when he sees his country drowning in power struggles and going downhill year after year? Beryl told her that he was just an old peasant who knew nothing about politics, and at the same time he would not stand by and watch one of his students go down the wrong path, as he had taught her to use the sword to protect people. She wondered why he thought she was taking the wrong path and told him that what she was doing was to protect countless people and that he was no different, as he had caused the deaths of many people to get to his current position. He told her that defeating those who try to assassinate the prince is not the same as causing his death to bring power to the church. She remembered what the Pope had told her before, that children would not die of hunger and cold if the whole country was united. Beryl told her that the children would not want her to have blood on her hands, but Rose insisted that fighting was the solution, as she had no more effective option, forcing Beryl to use force to stop her. In the meantime, the battle between the knights and the mercenaries was still going on, and when Beryl and Rose began to clash, he only fought her for a while, and she wondered if he didn't intend to stop her or if fighting a former student was that difficult. While she was attacking him, she was surprised that he was about to take advantage of a gap and deliver a powerful blow to her, but he preferred to retreat, and she realized that her chances of winning against him were slim, even though she was the one attacking, so Beryl suggested that she surrender, but she refused and told him that if she did, the children in the orphanages would die. Beryl was surprised by what she said, and Rose added that there are children being held hostage in orphanages by the Pope, so she does not plan to retreat or surrender. Then she noticed the angry look on his face and asked him to reprimand her for being a bad student. Beryl makes the difficult decision to get rid of her, so she rushes towards him and they continue to exchange attacks until she manages to injure him in the face, while Beryl thinks that Rose's armor protects both of them at the same time as it hinders her when she tries to attack from certain angles. Rose then managed to inflict several wounds all over his body. Beryl thought that he should assess her movement during the fight so that he could find an opening. When she swung her sword at him, he was able to block it and then deliver a crushing blow that caused her chest to tear, and she ended up falling to the ground, surprised by his skill. He told her that he wanted to take the opportunity to finish her off with one blow, while Rose admired his strength and said that she would have lost even if he had used a normal blow, then begged him to finish her off with his hand, but he could not do it and told her that she must stay alive to atone for her sins and that he wanted to teach her some things. Kotoga joined them and thought she was injured from fighting a mercenary, so he used his magic to heal her and told them that he saw her go after one of them. After stopping the bleeding, he asked Beryl what happened. Beryl had no choice but to admit that Rose was involved in the assassination attempt on Glenn after the Pope forced her to do so, and that he shot her down himself. Rose didn't try to deny it. When Beryl added that the Pope was holding children in orphanages hostage, Kotoga decided that their priority would be to find the children and ensure their safety. Then he thought he'd make up a story to clear Rose of the charge. He'd say she got involved and ended up with multiple injuries. She objected and asked him not to try to cover it up. He told her she'd be executed if he didn't succeed in convincing the authorities. Beryl told him that his failure to cover up for her would lead to his own downfall. When he asked why he went to such lengths, Kotoga told him that Rose was his younger half-sister, and Rose noticed Beryl's surprise. Kotoga then decided that they should reform the Holy Order of Knights. Beryl was curious if Kotoga belonged to the church or the monarchy, and told him that in such a situation he should be neutral, but in his heart he was more inclined to Prince Glenn. Rose then said that she could not trust the church or the royal family after Revios was unfairly tried, and Beryl wondered if he had been unjustly sentenced in a case, and Kotoga told him that the case was related to his interpretation of the scriptures to suit him and his violation of taboos, and it is rumored that the royalists made it up. Beryl confessed that Revios was indeed guilty, and that he was the one who caught him that day when he was trying to use corpses to resurrect the dead, and Rose realized that what the Pope had told her was a lie. Beryl advised her to rethink whether she should believe in him unconditionally like she does with her God, and told her to make better use of her strong will because that's what he's been trying to teach her since he met her in the past. Rose started crying and told him that she didn't want to die before she saw true justice with her own eyes. Then Kotoga took her in his arms, and Beryl asked him to take care of her, and he told him not to forget that he had become involved in the matter with them, and they vowed to keep it a secret between the three of them. Rose vowed to repay her debt to Beryl one day, and he told her that a teacher's job is to always correct his students' mistakes. On the other side, the battle between the knights and the mercenaries, who were completely exhausted and were having trouble staying on their feet, ended. Alusha asked Tenblitz and Karuni to guard the carriage while the rest of them searched the area around them. While she was talking, Beryl appeared in front of her and told them that it was over and there were no more enemies. Then he told them about Rose and that she had been seriously injured while fighting alongside him, and Kotoga took her to the doctor, and when the knights were ready to return, Beryl felt relieved that he was able to complete his work perfectly. After their return, Alusha received an urgent message from the royal palace and found that the royal family was inviting her to join them for a formal banquet, and while Beryl encouraged her to go, he was surprised when she told him that his name was on the banquet's guest list. Hendlitz and Karuni were excited that he would be attending the banquet with Alucia, while Beryl considered declining the invitation, but Alucia told him that she had never heard of anyone declining an invitation to a state banquet before, and Karuni scared him and told him that he could receive the death penalty for it. Ficelle was jealous that she wouldn't be able to attend the banquet with Beryl, and Lucy jokingly told her that he would have been happy to have her with him instead of Alucia. Lysandra, on the other hand, sent a letter to Beryl expressing how upset she was that she wouldn't be able to attend his big day because she had been away from work for a while and vowed to celebrate with him when she returned soon. A few days later, Beryl attended the banquet feeling confused and constantly asking himself how he ended up in such an uncomfortable situation, and marveling at the calmness of Alucia's nerves next to him, as if she was used to it. King Gladio entered with his daughter Salacia and told Alucia that he had asked her to come to the banquet to thank her for helping his daughter. Salacia welcomed them, and Beryl couldn't say a word while Alucia spoke to them comfortably. Beryl marveled that in the palace they served fish raw and not dried, and when he drank the wine, he found that he had drunk the best wine in his life, that he could not control himself and admired it loudly. Then Gladio told him that he had received a report that he had a major role in what happened that day, which made him realize that his decision to appoint him as a special trainer for the knights was a wise decision. Then he added that his daughter was about to marry Glenn, and Beryl realized that he was closer to the throne and that this was the reason why he did not cancel the tour, for fear that people would see him as weak. Gladio then expressed his concern about his daughter going to live in another country, so he decided to form a special royal guard to protect her during her stay in Sven, and appoint Beryl as the commander of Salacia's royal guard. Beryl was shocked when he heard the order and could not hide his confusion, while Alucia told the king that she preferred him to stay in the kingdom, as he provides continuous support for the monarchy and will contribute to the prosperity of the kingdom in the future according to her expectations for him. Gladio agreed and told Beryl that he had heard that some people called him the Swordmaster and decided to put his trust in him to protect the country. Beryl thought that no one called him by that title except Alucia, and when he turned towards her, he found her overjoyed that the king had officially recognized him, and he wondered inside himself how he could call himself a Swordmaster when he could not defeat his father yet. After that, Beryl returned home and gave Maui the gift he received at the banquet, which is a glass plate. Then he noticed that there was a delicious smell around, and she told him that she had prepared a special dish today, so he sat down to eat his dinner with her for the second time. Miwi thought that not long ago it would have been impossible for her to eat such a hot meal, but circumstances soon changed, and Beryl told her that not long ago he was just an old man who ran a fencing academy in the countryside, and now he ended up attending a banquet at the royal palace. The next day, Beryl sends the glass dish to his father, along with a letter about what had happened to him recently, and tells him that it's nice to use the glass dish, but storing it away doesn't seem right. Moldea then noted that the king had called him a fencing master and was excited to see him become a real fencing master someday, though ultimately it would be up to his own abilities and skill.